Hi, I'm Jay Buxbaum, and we're so glad you joined us here at the tasting room at Kedem Winery here in Marlborough, New York. It's so beautiful up here, but while you're tasting, let's learn a little bit about how the wine is made and the family that makes them.
Generations before the Herzog family was known for the popularity of their Kedem grape juice and the famous Blue Bottle Moscato. Their ancestors descended from a long line of prominent winemakers.
Yonah Herzog arrived in this country in 1948 virtually penniless, but he had great faith and a great dream and 6 generations of winemaking behind him.
Founded in 1848, the Herzog family winery was renowned as the royal wine supplier to the Emperor of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, Emperor Franz Joseph, eventually earning Philip Herzog the royal title of Baron. The winery was seized by the Nazis at the onset of World War II. The Herzogs survived the war in hiding and were supported with smuggled profits from the winery. In 1948, after the communist takeover in Czechoslovakia, Yonah Herzog, the head of the Herzog family, moved the family to the United States. Settling in New York City, Yonah Herzog went to work for Royal Wine Corporation as a winemaker, truck driver, and salesman. Part of Yonah's salary was paid in company shares, and by 1958, Yonah was a majority stockholder and purchased the company. Under Mr. Herzog's guidance, the business grew, and eventually his sons, the 7th generation of Herzog winemakers, joined Mr. Herzog's business. Yonah, with his 4 sons, incorporated the name Kedem and began a quest to regain the splendor of the Herzog family name. The company continued to thrive, and in 1965 purchased a facility and vineyards in upstate New York. After 3 short years, the company moved from this modest facility on the Lower East Side to a large one located in the Bronx in 1968. The Herzog family expanded the company to the West Coast in 1985, eventually opening Herzog Wine Cellars in Oxnard, California. In 2000, they shifted operations to their current facility located in Bayonne, New Jersey. Importing from nearly every major wine-producing country in the world, there are now excellent kosher varieties of delicious wines to tempt any palate and to celebrate every day of the year. It wasn't long before Bartonura had become the best-selling Moscato in the United States, kosher or otherwise.
We're here at the Kedem Tasting Room where you can taste the diversity of wines from all over the world. Wines that we make right here at the Kedem Winery, wines that come from France, wines that we make at our Herzog Wine Cellars in California. And now that you've tasted some, let's find out a little bit about how they're made. Here at Kedem, we want to make the perfect wine and grape juice. And for that, we need perfect grapes. And those grapes need to be in perfect balance, both for sugar and acidity. Of course, divine intervention and Mother Nature had the greatest influence over this, but the Herzogs have also instituted the strictest of growing standards.
Once the grapes have matured and are brought in from the vineyards, they are inspected and put into holding bins. Then the grapes are carefully separated and transferred to computer-controlled pneumatic presses to produce millions of gallons of acclaimed wine and grape juice.
And you'd think, right, that red grapes make red wine and white grapes make white wine. In fact, that's the juice color, right? Well, I'm going to show you that may not be true. This is the juice of the grape with some of the pulp. Well, what color is it? I don't think it's red. Well, look at that. They look about the same, I would say. Both certainly white kind of background to them. So where do you think the color comes from? Well, I'll tell you. From the skin.
Every wine has its very own character with specific standards for the flavor, bouquet, and color. At this point in the winemaking process, the wine is allowed to cool. Finally, to remove traces of tartaric acid, under the watchful eye of 8th and 9th generation winemakers, led by Michael and Eli Herzog, they will age until ready for bottling. Once the wines are deemed ready by the winemakers, they are hauled in special tankers from Marlborough, New York, to Kedem's state-of-the-art bottling plant in Bayonne, New Jersey.
I'm standing in front of 2 big tanker trucks that contains the wine and grape juice that was just sent from our winery upstate. It's going to be pumped into the room next door where it's going to be filtered, fined, blended, and finally bottled. Before the final filtration and blending, the wine sits in these massive tanks, and then it goes into the next room where they'll bottle it for your home consumption. I have to shout over the din of this machinery. Every single bottle that you see being filled is washed and cleansed perfectly before your grape juice or wine goes into it. And here's where it's done. We've brought you to the inner sanctum of our lab in Bayonne, New Jersey. Here, when the wine or grape juice arrives, it's tested to make sure it's exactly what it's supposed to be. And right before it's bottled, after it's blended and filtered, it's tested again to make sure that what goes into that bottle is what's supposed to be on your table at home. And we are at the final warehouse before it goes to your store where it finally gets to your table. It's temperature controlled in summer and winter. This massive building produces more than 20 million bottles of Kedem grape juice, tens of millions of bottles of Kedem wine, more than 4 million bottles of Bartunura Moscato, and countless other foods and wines over the course of only 1 year. And that's a pretty amazing feat for a building this size and the people that do it.
Kedem and Baron Herzog offer wines that are sweet, light, dry, crisp, fruity, robust, and elegant. They are as venerable as the family that produces them. Kedem and Baron Herzog offer you an incomparable combination. 8 generations of quality, enormous variety, and family tradition.
Thanks again for joining us here at the Kedem Wine Tasting Room here in Marlborough, New York. You've learned a little bit about how we make the wine here, so enjoy them. Cheers, l'chaim.